How's it going, everybody, and welcome to another review with RONIN 47R. And today we are taking a look at one of the brand new Chinese premium tanks. In this case, it is a Tier 8 medium tank called the T-34-3. You can see I am purchasing it in the store for you guys, and it is being sold as the Art of Mediums. And you can also see that it's coming with some shells, a garage slot, 7 days of premium, 100% crew. And it is being sold for 12,000 gold. So let's go ahead and get that, add it to our garage. And you can see again, it's just showing you exactly what's coming with it. And then when we jump back into the garage, we can actually take a look at this. With the Chinese line, I found that they come as a default with the Chinese military green. And there it is. You can see the Russian-esque wheels, turret. I mean, it has a lot of Russian influence there, and obviously it's because Russia supported China during this era. Now we're going to get into the actual details for the armor and the gun and all that kind of fun stuff at a later point, but for right now, the first thing I like to do is admire this brand new tank that I have never seen before, have no experience with. And it's very sloped in the front. It's very small. It's very short in length. Here's some promotional pictures that Wargaming has put up shortly before allowing this to be sold. So you perhaps have seen these before, and it's a really good looking tank. I mean, I really like the way it looks. I like the rounded turret. And again, I really appreciate how small it is considering. Now, they posted some information about this tank on the website, and you can see it does come with a 122mm gun, and it is the same gun as in the 112, which is the Tier 8 heavy Chinese tank. This tank goes pretty darn fast, and also just a note that for the premium round for this particular tank, it is the heat round, so it's the it's the anti-tank round. That's what you would be firing out of that, and it does come with or does have the characteristic of a higher penetration. But once again, we'll go into those details at a later time. So with this particular tank, you're definitely going to be wanting to drive it like a medium, which it is. But what does that really mean for this particular tank? Well, in order to figure that out, let's go ahead and take a look at the rest of the details. On our way down that road, we can go ahead and see that the medium tank was sold along with its brothers, the heavy tank and the light tank, which I've done reviews on as well. And it was being sold on Thursday, May 21st, 2015 through Sunday, May 31st, 2015. And that's exactly how it looked when it was advertised on the World of Tanks Xbox 360 Edition website. Now, I wish I can put them side by side, but just looking at those pictures, you can see a slight difference in the way the turret is shaped between the heavy tank and the medium tank. Now, in another blurb, another posting by Wargaming about the T-34-3, it goes on to talk about, again, how the gun is the same as the heavy tank. And it really is. I mean, it literally is the same exact schematics, characteristics. However, what they do point out, and I pointed out in my other review with the 112, is that there are some challenges with gun depression. And it's, I couldn't find data directly related to the Xbox edition. And when I can't do that, we look to the PC version for the closest thing. And often enough, it is the exact same information. Interestingly, the gun depression for the T-34-3, talk about having a challenge, it's 3 degrees. Well, I guess technically it'd be labeled as -3 degrees. Now, looking at the overview of the main attributes here, you can see the green bars here, and the speed limit is 50 kilometers per hour. Acceleration is 520 horsepower. Chassis rotation is 46 degrees. View range is 380 meters. Turret rotation is also 46 degrees. Rate of fire says here 4.48 rounds per minute. Now, the armor is 90 millimeters in the front, 50 millimeters on the side, and 50 millimeters in the rear for the hull. For the turret, it's 190 millimeters in the front, 120 millimeters on the sides, and 60 millimeters in the rear. Please note that the information here, does show that of a medium tank. It is very strong, potentially very bouncy, but, it is not immune to taking damage. When it comes to the Chinese line, Tankopedia shows that there are only, at this time of filming, of recording, there are only 3 tanks to choose from. And they give us some information that it is a modification of the T-34-2, and it is similar but different than the Type 59. in that it has reduced armor, and it has the 122mm gun. This particular design was developed in 1957, and mass production of the Type 59 was started in 1958. However, the T-34-3 was discontinued. Taking a look at the main characteristics, you can see it is a Tier 8, 1,300 hit points, and 35.5 tons. The value of the tank itself, outside of the package, is 11,000 gold. Again, looking at the mobility, we talked about the acceleration, speed limit, 50 kilometers per hour. It is a pretty darn fast tank, especially for a Tier 8 medium. Traverse and turret speed are the same at 46 degrees, which comes in very handy when you are trying to dance around the enemy. The armor we've already discussed, and you can see that the front has 90mm, sides are 50, and rear is 50. The turret armor, 190 in the front, sides 120, and rear 60. You're going to want to be hull down in this if you have to get in that situation. Now, the gun is something we're going to want to spend a little more time on. It is listed as the 122mm D-25TA. It's the same exact name of the gun for the heavy tank 112. However, this particular tank carries 40 pieces, which is 5 actually, less than the heavy tank. Damage is 293 to 488. Armor penetration ranges from 131 to 219. Rate of fire is the only different thing for this gun compared to its brother, the 112, and that the rate of fire is 4.48 rounds. That is slower than the heavy tank. View range is 380 meters. Let me point that out and say it again. It is slower than the heavy tank. All right, so now we're back to the garage, and we will absolutely come back to the details in a moment. But first, again, I just want to take a look at this tank because I just think they really look cool, and I am really, really happy with the way this thing looks. I think it is a very, very attractive tank, if I can call a tank attractive. But as you know, starting to get, you're starting to know the routine with me. I get a brand new tank. The first thing I'm going to go ahead and do is make it my own by putting on my emblems. And I'm going to go ahead and make those permanent because, again, I am not going to sell or get rid of the tank. So it will be with me in the garage permanently. Now we're going to go ahead and take a look at what China offers in regards to the winter camouflage. And again, I fancy the white and brown. I like that. And then you have the summer camouflage. And you can see the different offerings that China has. And, it does remind me of the Russian style of camouflage in some way. I do like that reddish toned camouflage for the summer. And now we are taking a look at desert. I like that one. And then, of course, the last now is urban. And they're all camouflage, but it's urban. And I do like this yellowish, orangish, funky color here for the camouflage. It is different. Now, this is a brand new tank from a brand new nation. I have no crew that has skills that I can drop into this tank to show you how it works. Normally, I like to come in with a crew that has skills so that I can focus directly on what can this tank do. However, we're going to be double challenged here with the brand new crew having, yes, 100%, but nothing else with him. Now, the overview, as you can see here, is very similar to the green bar view that we looked at earlier. And again, you can see that there is the the engine, the 122mm D-25TA, and currently there are no consumables or equipment. Now, jumping over to the the details of the modules, the package, if you will. On the lower right-hand side, I'm allowing it to scroll through, so you can go ahead, for history, we can go ahead and record what it was saying about the tank. Looking specifically at the details, once again, you can see everything that we've discussed before, but what I'm going to focus in on is the gun, and specifically the rate of fire, which is 4.48 rounds per minute. Translate that into time. That would be 13.4 seconds for reloading one shell. That is 0.2 seconds slower than the heavy tank version. Now, everything else is the same as the heavy tank version of this gun, which is 175 for the penetration, 390 for the damage. Then when you go to the premium round, it does jump up by a good hefty 75 points of penetration, but the same amount of damage. The aim time still remains at a 3.40, and the accuracy is still a 0.46. Not a very good accuracy for long distance at all. As you can see here, I am just setting up the consumables here in the background, and I am putting in a few premium rounds, the PO-471, and throwing in a few heat rounds. And now I'm going to go ahead and put in some consumables. Lately, I have been messing around with the large kits. I first started off with the smaller kits, but later on I switched them out. I just feel like I enjoyed or needed the benefit of some of those protections that those larger kits come with. You know, the fire rating, the protecting of your crew, etc. It's one of the benefits. They're more expensive, but it's one of the benefits of having those larger kits. Just remember to switch it over to silver if you don't want to spend the gold. As far as equipment is concerned, again, nothing too fancy here or surprising. I'm going to go ahead and grab the vents. Being that this has such a slow reload time, not to mention a slower reload time than the heavy tank, I'm going to go ahead and put a gun rammer in there. Now, this is a medium tank. I will be flanking. I will be playing peek-a-boom. I will be absolutely on the go. I'm going to go with the vertical stabilizer instead of the GLD. And that will make my aiming reticle start out smaller, but the aim shrink time is not going to be affected by the vertical stabilizer. I'm going to go ahead and start off with a video showing how anti-awesome I am. I was so focused on the enemy that when I reversed, I didn't realize exactly where I was, and I went swimming. Same map, different game. I'm going to truck across the river and come out the other side. It was a really good game. I was off to a great start, and I started getting worried right about now, and I thought I made it, and I didn't. Yeah, that was, I don't know. I love this map, but I keep on having bad times there. Now, in order to save us some time, I am just taking a few games. There was a ton that I did, but I'm just taking a few games, showing a few clips, just to give you an idea of what it's like at different distances, how it behaves under different circumstances. This is all the same round, but like I said, I just sped up the amount of video time just to show you these specific bits. You can see some side scraping and a lot of gun elevation challenges. I find that instead of focusing on, as I normally do in playing World of Tanks, on everything else, my main concern with this tank has been and continues to be gun depression. I'm not going to say it's a bad thing. I mean, it is what it is. There's a lot of good things about this tank. I'm just pointing out that for me, the biggest challenge is the gun depression. And once I learn how to run a tank with such, you know, -3 gun depression, you know, I'm going to do a lot better. Not to mention, of course, I look forward to having, you know, a crew that has some more skills. So, you know, yes, I came in first place on that particular round, but, you know, it was a defeat overall. But, you know, I'm working my, my tail off during that game. I'm going to go ahead in this particular round and also snip through so you can kind of follow along what's going on. But again, it's more of a highlight just to kind of see what it looks like in action instead of taking your time watching me drive for a few minutes down roads. While you're watching this, I'm going to point out, again, you know, initially I thought the 112, the Tier 8 Chinese heavy tank, and the Tier 8 medium tank, the T-34-3, which we are looking at, I thought the gun was exactly the same, but that's kind of a loose term, and let me tell you why. I know I mentioned it before, but let me go ahead and wrap it all together. The name is the same, the damage is the same, the premium rounds are the same, aim time, accuracy, they are all the same. And it's related to the gun. Granted, the heavy tank carries 45 shells and the medium tank carries 40 shells, but here's where there was a difference that I wasn't aware of until I started really working on these reviews, and specifically not until I did the second review or the review on the medium tank, as I've already done the review on the 112, and that is I found out that the the reload time on the medium tank is actually slower than the 112, and I thought it was exactly the same. As I pointed out before, it is only 0.2 seconds longer, but nonetheless, it is longer. And it's already starting off as a very long reload time. That's something that, you know, it won't hold you back, but it is absolutely something that affects your gameplay, your gameplay style, and how you're going to use this tank. The other thing that I was noticing was, again, I thought they were exactly the same. I thought gun depression, both challenging, and I thought that was the end of the discussion. Well, I've previously worked on the 112, and I did pretty well to it. I warmed up to it pretty quickly. I'm not used to tanks with, you know, bad gun depression. Just haven't run into them, haven't ran those lines, really. So the 112 took a little time to get used to, and I figured it out, and I lived happily ever after. I went to go ahead and use the medium tank, and it was more challenging for me. And I kept asking myself, is it because I'm not a medium guy? I don't have as much experience. What is the malfunction here? And it's not the tank. I'm not going to say, you know, it's the tank's fault. I'd look at myself first. And it turns out that it was the tank this time, actually. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm not saying it can't be overcome. But I was not aware that what I felt was actually true. And what was true is that the 112, the heavy tank, is a -6 gun depression, which is challenging in itself. But the medium tank has a -3 gun depression. So, I mean, you only have 3 degrees of gun depression. You're not really aiming with your barrel when you're aiming down. You're aiming with your whole tank. And of course, that puts you in harm's way. That affects your acceleration as you're tilting up and over hills. It's a whole different ball game than I'm used to. Have I gotten better at it over time? Absolutely. But it is something, especially when I'm trying to aim in, you know, that slight bump, slight increase or decrease in the topography really affects my aim. And it has absolutely cost me. I'm not going to say that, you know, I'm sure there's folks that are out there. The new Russian medium line, as an example, has the same gun depression. I want to say it's the Object 416 has the same gun depression. I don't have experience with it. But the drivers of tanks that have low or bad gun depression are going to pick this tank up, and they're going to be used to it, and they're going to excel very quickly. Folks like me who are not used to it, can you excel? Absolutely. But you just have a longer learning curve. But I'll tell you what, though, even with the challenge, it was frustrating, but it was a fun frustration because it was something that I wanted to get better at, and it was something I was getting better at, and I'm sure you're going to have a lot of fun with it too. I mean, it's really, really fun when you figure out how to play this tank. It punches hard. Its traverse speed for the hull is amazingly fast. Its acceleration is fast. Its top speed is fast. The turret traverse is fast. There's a lot of positives about this tank. Just figure out how to use the or get around the gun depression, and you will be off, you know, over your biggest hurdle. The other thing too is if you're like me, don't be, because sometimes I rely on luck a little too much and I just get greedy and I want to take that long shot. This does not do very well at sniping. Close the distance, get to cover. Don't rely on those long shots. Luck was not with me as often as I'd like, so I have to play this a lot closer than I'm used to. I'm used to taking a lot more chances. With this tank, you can't afford to, at least the way I play. Now, this particular piece is opening up here on Himmelsdorf, and it's a little longer chunk for you to look at because this was a really enjoyable battle. Some things right, some things wrong, but let's go ahead and take a look at this here. Sometimes just because you're not getting Top Gun or whatever doesn't mean you can't have a good game. Now watch this, gun depression challenge. Oh, gun depression challenge. I still can't get on him. Yellow, I barely had the red, pulled the trigger, but I was stopped by my my teammate there. Not on purpose, you know, things happen. So you can see I'm constantly fighting gun depression. Look at it's on target, off target. I got a hit there. He's fighting his turret rotation there. I'm using my speed to get around him. Now watch this. I'm going to use this tank destroyer as a shield. The 416 gets tired of me. I take out the tank destroyer, still using him as a shield. Pulling back, going forward, this, that, the other. Look at the speed on the T-34-3. It's great. And done. So that was really lucky there. Now, you know, because again, the reload time, gosh. So here I am. I'm going to come up here on the Jagdtiger, Tier 9, German tank destroyer. Now, I do not want to risk the bounce, so I go for the rear. I roll a 360 or a 380. Wasn't enough to put him down. I try to ram him. Yeah, that didn't work out. My reload was taking too long. Someone else gets the kill, but at least the red dies. Now I'm going to cruise down here as fast as I can to help out. I jumped the video ahead, and lo and behold, we have a KV-5, and you can see the rear / side area of the turret, right into the turret, and he's done at a 334. So that was a nice roll and a nice shot. And now I'm going to go ahead and continue on here, and there's a Black Prince, and he is full health, but I ammo racked him, and it was interesting. He kind of just ignored me. He just moseyed on, got shot in the back, and now I'm going to go ahead and reload still, and now I'm going to hit him in the rear. Okay, so I'm rotating and going forward because I want to get another piece of this guy. Here we go. And I'm still reloading. And still reloading. And finally I can go ahead and take him out. There we go. So you can see it's just like any other medium. You know, you're running around and annoying the enemy, but the reload time slows down your game because there's so many more mediums at this tier and higher that actually have a faster reload. So, you know, depending on what you're used to, you'll notice a difference. Still a very fun tank. Love the alpha, but I just need to work on that reload. So I threw in the vents. And take a look at the, you know, let's go ahead and take a look at the reload time by putting in the vents, see what it dropped down to. And then when Brothers in Arms are developed, it's going to be dropped down even further, which is going to help a lot. So, you know, I'm working my my tank off here and, you know, getting some decent pay, some decent points in. But it's fun. I mean, that's the whole point of playing the game, though, isn't it? It's about the fun factor. And I do have fun. It's so maneuverable. I really enjoy that aspect. In this case, I did what? 9 shots fired. Direct hits were 8. And penetrations were 8. So, I mean, that's a pretty good game. Now, we're opening up here on Corellia. It is an assault map. And you can see here that I'm going to try to use its speed to get up and around. And we are on the side that needs to capture the flag. So here we go. Let's wish us some luck here. You know, you're looking around and you will notice that there are a lot of... matchmaking has been really good to me for the past several games. Have I seen tier 9s? Absolutely. This will only go up to a tier 9. But for whatever reason, I did not get into a lot of tier 9 games. Most of the time, I was tier 8. I don't know if that is because I'm going to be, you know, I'm filming this, you know, recording games that are several days after it just came out, and that's affecting matchmaking because there's not a lot of T-34-3s out there. I really don't know. Maybe matchmaking will change over time in regards to how often you see tier 9 games. Can't be sure. Now, granted, I did advise you not to take those shots at that distance, but, you know, I'm undercover, no rush. That was over 600 meters. I was hoping to get a piece of that guy, but he was undercover. So there was no way I can hit him. Now, these guys are coming up and over the hill in the north eastern corner. I like, especially in this tank or this type of tank, I like to come over here because you're going to force the enemy to make a choice between basically 90 degrees or more of fire. And what they're going to do is they're going to be looking straight ahead, or they have to turn 90 degrees to deal with you. And I have a lot of cover over here, at least for now, based on their current position. Again, reload speed. Luckily, I can land that, even though I did not aim it all the way down. And the Cromwell will be able to go below the horizon before I can reload. Our next customer here, you know, is coming up, and he is the tier 9, the Patton. I blew the shot because, you know, I anticipated him rolling forward, and just as luck would have it, he stopped. He's looking right at me. He has a faster reload than I. I am hiding and crossing my fingers. You can see there are a few heavies to my left that are on my team, which is great because they're distracting him. And, ooh, you can see there, I had to change position of the gun, and it affected the aim enough that when I did take that last shot, because I knew he was going to be out of range, it wasn't aimed in well enough, and it bounced because it did not land well. Not to mention RNG just threw in a curveball for me. Now, the tank destroyer that just pulled out of the way, I did not have enough time to get a good beat on him, and we're still playing with the Patton and the T-25/2. So these two guys are up, and there goes gun depression woes right there. I have the gun depression blues. See that? Now, if I go forward, now I blew that away. I wasted the shot because I was taking a chance to, one, just get rid of the debris because I needed a better eyeball because I wasn't going to go further because of the gun depression issue. The other thing was I was taking a chance that he might have been on the other side of the debris in a straight line of sight, and I was going to get lucky, which I sometimes do. Now I'm going to go ahead and use my speed to panic the T-25/2 because he has a lot of bad guys. You know, a lot of green guys are going after him, and he knows it. I'm going to take a risk. Fortune favors the brave. I try to be brave, but not stupid. I ran around the corner here because I knew he'd be over here, but I also was cringing and crossing my fingers because I knew there would be some of the Reds off in the distance that would be potentially be shooting at me. You can see my sixth sense is going off. I have, at the time of this recording, have developed sixth sense, so that's good. I'm watching the gun barrels of the TDs and seeing if they are looking at me. That's why I was kind of hanging out there in the open as long as I was. Now I've minimized the risk of the tank destroyer to my left by using the rock to block me as I try to shoot at the AT-15. Now the AT-15 is the only one left, and he's a tough nut to crack. I mean, that's 321 meters, and I was slow, day late, dollar short. Who knows what that round would have done to him, but again, I do not hold my breath at 321 meters for this gun. However, I am going to lay fire on the enemy. Now, here you go with the prototype. Excellent armor, but perhaps I can get a piece of his side. And I did not. I am detected. Have to pull back, and again, gun depression woes there. Very challenging. So now I'm going to be a little risky and go forward. Not sure. Now that was a lucky shot. The accuracy that this, or the lack of accuracy this gun has, I was really happy that my lucky shot on the move took out that heavy tank. Now the T-34 is just a sliver of him is beyond that rock, but he's... And what happened was, as I fired at the hull, he was still moving in reverse. My shot ended up going towards the front of his tank, bouncing as he was going in reverse because of the distance it needed to travel. But it was worth a chance. Now, so far, this is going pretty darn well. I'm very aggressive in this tank, which means I die a lot, but... I just feel like you have to be. For example, we only had one light tank, which is no longer with us, and often I find myself in matches where this tank, or I should just say the medium tanks, since we have no lights, in a lot of the matches that I'm in, we have to be the scouts, and if us mediums don't go and spot, then who is? So I put myself in harm's way there, because I do not want to be the fast tank on the field who is camping in the back, being the scaredy cat, not spotting for artillery, tank destroyers, and so on. Now I've gone a little too far forward. You can see there are two enemies. One's in front of me here at B3, B4, and then we have one enemy at A6. My heavy tank at A7 cannot come to support me because he is pinned down and dealing with that heavy tank that's very close to him. Plus, I still have some enemies to my left, which would be to the west, in the D2, C2 area and further on. I can't see that far, and I'm moving, so any equipment that I would have had, it doesn't matter. I don't even have that equipment, but they're probably sitting there, tank destroyers with nice binoculars, cozy, with nice, 500-meter view ranges with all their equipment and stuff. Not to mention skills and perks, and on and on. And there's a tank destroyer that just got lit up by somebody, not me. That is over at D2, and that hurt a lot. So there's an unseen T-29 that just shot me in the rear, took out my engine, which is, and that hurt again. So now it's looking really badly for me. But here's my bread and butter. I need to be mobile. I am not going to brawl in this tank. I need to be mobile, and I need to be able to dance if I want to have a chance to survive. Having an engine hit in this tank sucks. So what I went ahead and did was I covered the two modules that were hit, one of which was the engine, using that large repair kit. Now I'm down to 145 hit points, and that is a T-34 who has huge amounts of alpha damage. But here you go. Here's the mobility at its work, at its best, getting out of dodge there. His traverse speed for his turret, let alone the hull, is too slow, and so I beat him out there. Again, play to your strengths. Notice this up and over topography here. The gun depression is going to really hurt me right here. I have to hug this wall. I can't really do anything too far away from this wall because of the enemy to the west. Yikes, I am afraid of this guy. I'm a one-shot, and he looks away, and I feel comfortable enough to pull back, take a shot at the hull. We are good to go. Again, inaccurate gun, but at this distance, you can do well enough to do those snapshots. All right, so now we're dealing with 3-on-3. On honestly, I was not paying attention to the clock. Honestly, I was focusing on just staying alive, and I forgot that it was an assault match. I wasn't thinking, to be honest. I was literally thinking about one thing and one thing alone, and that is kill tanks, do not get killed yourself. In hindsight, remember, this is an assault map, and I'm supposed to be capping the flag. So that's, you know, I have 1 minute and 16 seconds left in the game. I was completely oblivious at the time, but in hindsight, you know, that is a fact to be aware of. So I did spot, or at least somebody spotted, the light tank off in the distance. Oh, hello, T-95 tank destroyer. Ouch. Now, I took a quick shot at him, did not let it aim in. It lowballed, it bounced, not good for me. And the reason why I rushed it so badly was because that light tank was, you know, I was right in his line of sight, and I am a one-shot. I'm living on borrowed time right now. Good news is the T-95 was forced to take a look at who shot him, which, of course, exposes his side to my tank destroyer, and the tank destroyer got an excellent shot on him. I am detected, but I just crossed my fingers and hoped I would not get shot. And there's the red tick tick, which I was not aware of because I was so into the game. You know, I'm at 5 kills. I'm 1 away from a top gun. I'm asking that heavy tank in the back. You know, he's low on health, but come help me. And I don't know what he's doing because I'm low on health too. You know, help me distract these guys, etc., etc. But no, and there's a T-25, and I'm like, yikes, I'm going to get out of there. So, you know, look at the acceleration for going uphill. Not bad. Not bad at all. Uh-oh, here comes the T-29. I want to take him out, and look at that. I paused it right there because what happened? The timer ran out. I'm fighting gun depression. He fired, it bounced. Had I pulled back further, watch this, had I just had 1 more second in the game, you tell me. Gun depression problems. He fires and bounces. Here I come. I'm going to get aiming down, aiming down, aiming down, and robbed. 1 more time just for the sake of, you know, ESPN here. Look at this. Here we go. And, oh my, man, I'm going to have nightmares about this. Oh, talk about bald fists into the air and vocabulary invented. Great, great game. This is one of the most enjoyable games I had in this tank. I mean, it was a fun game. When you can have fun on a defeat, you're having a good time, you know, and that's all there is to it. You know, great silver, great experience, and that's all fun and dandy. Some new awards, ribbons, you know, fighter. That's great. But man, I'll tell you what, that was pins and needles on the seat of my pants. Patrol duty, for crying out loud. I mean, I was working it. I really, that's the type of game that I like to play in general. And this tank really allowed me to play that type of game. I really enjoy this tank. You know, again, as usual, I don't tell you what to get. You know, your style is different. I try to show you various things of, you know, what the tank can do, the pros and cons. The decision is yours. I'm happy I got it, and I hope you enjoyed watching this review. You know, I hope it was informative. All right, folks. Well, I will catch you next time on the next review, the next video. Please stay tuned, and remember, if you're receiving this transmission, you are one of the 47 Ronin, and I will catch you later.